Welcome to my channel. We hope you find pleasure in today's tale. As usual, Harvey was seated in his large armchair, holding a beer and viewing a baseball match on the large television. Betsy had ascended the stairs post-dinner, and he had no clue about her activities, nor was he interested. To him, it appeared to be just another ordinary evening at home. However, shortly before 7 p.m., the doorbell sounded. Before Harvey could rise, Betsy called from upstairs, "Harvey, could you please get the door?" "Of course, I was on my way already," he replied. He proceeded to the door and opened it, to find a smartly dressed gentleman he didn't recognize. "Hello, may I assist you? I hope you're not here to sell something." "No, I'm here to collect Betsy for our appointment," the man replied. Harvey's eyes widened in shock. "You have an appointment with my wife, Betsy?" "Yes," the man confirmed. Harvey paused momentarily, trying to process the information. "I'll call her," he said, and walked to the base of the stairs, yelling, "Betsy, your fiancé's here." He expected her to inquire about what? Appointment, or deny it was a date. Instead, she responded, "Tell him I'll be down shortly." Harvey stood puzzled about the unfolding events. When she appeared in the living room, she was dressed in a short cocktail dress with a plunging neckline and wore considerable makeup. Harvey demanded, "Betsy, explain what's happening. I'm going on a date." Married women usually don't date anyone except their spouses. "I'm leaving. I'm exhausted from spending evenings watching you consume beer and gaze at curling or another captivating sport. The most I get from you is a belch or a flatulence, and you no longer even apologize. When was the last time we did something thrilling? If you can't show me any affection or provide spontaneous fun, I'll find someone who will," she said, poking him in the chest for emphasis. "And tonight, don't wait up for me. If I'm fortunate, I might not return until morning," she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Betsy got into the awaiting vehicle and instructed the driver to depart. Once they were distant from the house, they both burst into laughter. I wish I could have captured the look on his face. It was unforgettable. If this doesn't change him from a lazy person into a normal individual, nothing will. Do you think this might infuriate him and worsen things? I doubt it. He'll probably just sit there bewildered by what occurred. I'll be back before he becomes overly distressed. I don't believe he would contemplate divorce so swiftly, but I'm prepared to face that risk. Perhaps I shouldn't have mentioned staying out until tomorrow, but it's too late now. Given the state of our marriage, I'd prefer a divorce over continuing like this. Darn it, I adore that idiot dearly, but I just wish he showed more concern for me and us. Anyway, let's drive around the block. We'll return and I'll see how he's doing." After circling the neighborhood, Betsy and her companion drove back and parked in the driveway. Harvey didn't rush outside as Betsy had hoped. She entered and found him absent from the living room, though the television was still on. She swiftly searched the lower level, then ascended the stairs. He wasn't there. She then dialed his mobile, hearing it ring. Betsy hurried to locate his phone on the nightstand beside which lay his wedding ring. She quickly surveyed the room and noticed several of his personal belongings were absent. Oh no, Betsy ran downstairs to inform her friend of the developments and to verify if Harvey's car was in the garage. It was missing. The man questioned, "Where do you suppose he is?" "He probably went to a bar to drown his sorrows. At worst, he might even stay the night at a motel. I can envision him moping like a child. He'll regret this when he returns and disregards my jest. On the other hand, his departure might actually be beneficial. If he's upset because I had to resort to such measures to motivate him, I'm okay with letting him continue to feel bad for a while longer." Harvey didn't come back or contact her that night or the following morning. Later the next day, when Betsy could no longer bear it, she contacted Harvey's personal secretary. "Barbara, please connect me with my husband before he's due back from lunch." "That's not possible, Betsy." What in the world is going on? Harvey had stumbled in that morning and told her to be quiet and listen. He mentioned he's taking a day off due to several personal issues he needs to address. He then inquired about who manages the company's health insurance. I provided him with the contact of the woman in HR responsible for health benefits, which seemed to aid him, and afterwards he no longer wished to speak with me. He departed without offering thanks or any other form of farewell. This behavior is highly uncharacteristic of Harvey. Do you have any insight into what might have transpired? Did he experience a loss in the family or something similar? What occurred is that I executed a prank that led to some regrettable outcomes. Once I speak with him and apologize profusely, I hope he'll return to his usual self. Could you connect me to that woman in HR? Sure. HR, Rhonda speaking. May I speak with Sylvia? Please, she is currently training a newcomer. May someone else assist you? Can anyone inform me about Harvey Strickland's actions in HR today? I can access his records, but I require his permission to disclose any details. I am his spouse. Can. You reveal anything, I'll check your status under his policy. Hold on, it's actually fortunate we were about to reach out to you today. You will soon receive a formal notification that you are no longer insured under your husband's health plan. However, you can maintain coverage for 180 days after its termination if you settle the outstanding dues that was the sole alteration he made. A shocked Betsy merely sniffled, thanked them, and hung up. Why did Harvey remove me from his health insurance? Then it dawned on her. She quickly went to her computer to examine their online bank accounts. Half the funds were withdrawn from both their checking and savings accounts. Oh no, he's initiating a divorce. Betsy felt at a loss for her next steps, absorbed in thought when her phone rang. It was their life insurance agent and family friend, Larry. This is Betsy. Hi, Larry. Betsy, can you explain what's happening? Harvey came here to cancel the automatic payments for your life insurance and altered the beneficiary to the children. You won't receive any funds. Also, the automatic deductions for the life insurance payments were redirected to a new account. He was adamant this was his decision. I must send you a formal notice regarding the beneficiary change and the cessation of your life insurance payments. I'm sorry, I presume you are separating. Betsy, I'm truly sorry. Please visit me soon so your life insurance doesn't lapse. Am I correct in assuming you two are divorcing? Yes, thank you. I can't discuss more at this moment. She ended the call. 2 minutes later, their lawyer neighbor and friend Doug rang. Betsy answered despondently. Hello, Betsy. It's Doug. Can you tell me what's occurring? Harvey was here and revised his will so the children inherit everything and you receive nothing. He also excluded you from the list of his medical proxies. He declined to explain and didn't mind if I informed you. Then he requested a referral to a family attorney. It seems you are facing serious issues and might be considering a divorce. Listen. Everything can be reverted if you reconcile. I'm very sorry this is happening. Marilyn and I hold you both in high regard. I must go now, but I wish you the best. Betsy weakly responded. Okay, next, their twin daughters, who were at college, called. Mom, what's happening? Dad called us traitors to you, claimed you're dating and sleeping with other men, then said he wouldn't communicate for some time so you could freely date others until the divorce. He ensured our future college expenses were settled. We tried to inquire further, but he disregarded us. He reminded us of his love before he disconnected. Mom, we're frightened Dad might hurt himself. Can you share what caused his severe sadness? I'm the one who upset him, and I'm now trying to locate him to apologize. The problem is, I haven't been able to find him. Perhaps I should try. Hold on, I'm receiving another call. It might be him. Call you back. Hello, Harvey? No, it's your mother-in-law, Doris. What on earth is happening? My son phoned me, weeping profusely. He mentioned something about you being with a group of men at a nightclub. He sounded intoxicated, so I wasn't sure how credible his story was, but he was clearly very distressed. Moreover, he expressed his intention to resolve this by granting you your independence. The most distressing part is that he thanked his father and me for our upbringing, then apologized for disappointing us, and said farewell. I disliked his tone. He ended the call before we could probe further and hasn't responded since. Betsy, I'm worried he might do something reckless. What transpired between you two? I tried to pull Harvey from his complacency and encourage him to enjoy life with his spouse. I opted for a drastic measure to jolt him out of his melancholy. I pretended to have a date with another man. I was gone merely for 10 minutes, just 10 brief minutes. By the time I returned, he had already left. Today I discovered he had taken steps that suggest he's planning a divorce. I'm attempting to locate him to halt this insanity, but I've been unable to reach him to discuss it. So it's your fault my son is contemplating suicide? Listen, if anything happens to him, I will hold you personally accountable. Click. Betsy was too agitated to think clearly. She contacted all the local hotels and motels. Harvey was not registered at any. She then called the police to report him missing, expressing her fear that he might be suicidal. This information, however, did not alter the situation. She was advised she'd need to wait another day to officially report it. Overwhelmed, Betsy took a sleeping pill, though thoughts of suicide crossed her mind, contemplating the dire consequences if Harvey were deceased. Fortunately, she remembered the combination to the safe where Harvey stored his automatic pistol and ammunition. She woke up disoriented and turned on the television news. The local channel was broadcasting a live interview from an accident scene. This is Lamar Jackson from TV3 News. It appears that last night, Bender Curve claimed another victim or victims. We are here with Sergeant Kainer from the State Police. Sergeant Kainer, can you clarify exactly what occurred? It seems that a vehicle drove off the cliff, breaking through the most fortified part of the guardrails. The driver was either extremely unfortunate or knew exactly what they were doing. Considering the absence of skid marks, it's possible the driver might have lost consciousness, been under the influence, or possibly committed suicide. How were you alerted to the accident? A motorist driving in the opposite direction called it in. He's here now. The camera shifted to a young man. The reporter approached him. Young man, what's your name? I'm Sean Carpenter. Am I on TV? Just want to say hi to my mum. Hi, Mum, he smiled broadly. Sean, can you describe what you saw? Well, I was driving home when I noticed this big truck heading towards me. It swerved slightly, then veered into my lane. I hit the brakes and suddenly it swerved right, hit the guardrail, and plunged over the cliff. Can you describe the truck? Sure. It was a red Ford F-150, likely a 2019 model. It had a decal of a Western Kentucky Hilltopper on the back window. Did you see who was driving? No. The truck's headlights were on, and I only caught a brief look at the driver. He seemed to be a man. I don't believe there were any passengers. That's all I can say. Thank you. Sergeant Kainer, have you summoned help to locate the truck that went through the guardrail? Well, we aren't certain what broke through the guardrail. We suspect it was a truck, as Mr. Carpenter mentioned. From this position, it's impossible to see exactly what it is. We have a search and recovery team for the mountains, but they are presently engaged in search and rescue missions elsewhere in the state. I'm unsure when they'll be able to descend there and check. But if there's someone alive down there needing medical assistance, you'd be witnessing a genuine miracle. No ordinary individual could survive such a plunge onto those rocks. I wouldn't risk the lives of those untrained for such a venture just to confirm. Betsy didn't need confirmation to understand what had occurred and who had perished. She began sobbing as soon as they mentioned a red Ford F-150 with a decal. Ignoring the incessant ringing of her phone, she had been weeping alone for 3 hours before the twins arrived. Worried after their calls went unanswered, they rushed home to support her. Their grandmother had informed them of the news broadcast about the red F-150, and despite the absence of a body, they were nearly certain their father was the one who had crashed. The older twin picked up her mother's phone and handed it to her. The caller ID showed the name of a law firm. Hello, this is Betsy Strickland. She struggled to say her last name, holding back tears. Mrs. Strickland, my name is Chris Andrews. I'm a lawyer at the same firm as your acquaintance, Doug. Your husband hired me for his divorce proceedings. I probably shouldn't be calling you, but Doug urged me to. The Riverton police from Caldwell County contacted me after responding to a robbery. The victim, who suffered a head injury, had his wallet and keys stolen. He was taken to the ER and shortly thereafter underwent surgery. The victim was placed into a medically induced coma to alleviate brain pressure. The only item found on him was a motel room key. They traced it back to Harvey Strickland. Among the documents in his motel room was a copy of the divorce agreement appointing me to handle his divorce. That's why they contacted me. Your husband instructed me to manage the divorce because he didn't want any direct dealings with you. I must inform you that you are not permitted to visit him in the hospital. This decision is based on explicit verbal directives from Mr. Strickland about his relationship with you. However, your children may visit, but I have the final say on visitor access. What? He's my husband? Of course I can see him. I'm very sorry, but the directive he signed grants only me the authority to make decisions regarding his divorce and his medical care. I must follow his last verbal instructions. If you wish to contest this, you should hire a lawyer immediately. Isn't the divorce process paused due to his condition? No, ma'am. I was given explicit instructions to proceed with the divorce regardless of circumstances, although I don't believe he anticipated being robbed. Does this mean all the financial, insurance, and beneficiary actions he took won't be reversed? Yes, ma'am. All those actions were completed by him, and at this point I have no evidence that he desires them reversed. Of course, there's no evidence he's in a coma. This is just absurd. I deceived my husband into thinking I was going out with another man. When I returned to clarify it was all a prank, he had already left. He discarded his cell phone, so I couldn't explain that it was just a joke. There was no valid reason for the divorce or for his reaction to the prank. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's the current situation. I have to follow the directives, Mr. Strickland gave and confirmed in writing. I have no alternative. I regret to inform you that you will be served at your workplace tomorrow. As per Mr. Strickland's request, once you appoint a lawyer, have them contact me to discuss further steps. I don't care, he's my husband, and I intend to see him regardless. I forgot to mention, the envelope you'll receive includes a restraining order mandating you to keep at least 300 meters away from him. The proposal he made was quite generous. He stated he wants you to have a chance with the man you truly desire. Betsy relayed what the lawyer had explained to her children. It seemed unbelievable what had transpired. Despite their advice, Betsy resolved to visit the hospital. The girls decided to go with her. It didn't take long. The hospital had not received a copy of the restraining order, but no visitors were permitted due to COVID restrictions applicable to all patients. They explained that once he was moved to the ICU, he could receive visitors, but only one person every 2 hours for 10 minutes. When Harvey was transferred to the ICU, the restraining order was in effect. Only one daughter could visit, but it was futile. He was unconscious, and whether he comprehended anything they said was unclear. A few days later, the mountain search and rescue team located the truck. It was presumed that the robber was the deceased driver. Harvey's wallet was found there, but several $100s of the $6,000 were missing, likely spent on the few bottles of rare Kentucky bourbon found, one of which was more than half empty. As time went on, Betsy found herself in a tough financial situation. Harvey had neglected to transfer his paycheck deposit into their joint account, which was meant for mortgage and other bills. Betsy eventually hired a lawyer who managed to secure her access to half of the remaining money in the account. Finally, the time came to bring Harvey out of the medically induced coma. When he awoke, he claimed he didn't recognize himself. The diagnosis was temporary amnesia. Linda, one of the twins, brought photos and shared memories to help him recall, but all attempts were unsuccessful. He couldn't even recognize the lawyer who had his power of attorney. Given his condition, he was considered insufficiently informed to have the restraining order revoked. After Harvey emerged from the coma, he was given a memory test to confirm his amnesia. Harvey quickly realized their intentions and decided to feign memory loss. Carol, the other twin, was the first to visit him. "Who are you?" he asked. "Dad, I'm one of your daughters, Carol. You were attacked and fell into a coma. We've been waiting for you to wake up." "We?" "Yes, Linda, Mom, your wife and I." "I have a wife? Why isn't she here? She's not allowed." "There was a misunderstanding, and there's a restraining order against her visiting my God. Does she want to harm me?" "No, Dad, she poses no threat. You were very upset with her because she pretended to go on a date with another man. Before she could return to tell you it was a joke, you left and initiated the divorce proceedings. Now that you're awake, you can halt all of this. How do I know she didn't actually go on the date? She says she didn't. Didn't you just say she claimed she was going on a date?" "Yes, but that was a lie." "So she lied about going on a date, but is now telling the truth about not going on a date." "I might not recall you or her, but I'm not naive. I must have taken precautions to protect myself. Sorry, miss, but your 10 minutes are up. You'll have to leave now." 2 hours later, his other daughter arrived. "I spoke with you earlier, didn't I?" "No, that was my twin sister, Carol. I'm Linda. Don't you recognize me?" "I'm sorry, but not yet. You and your sister are very lovely young women. Were we on good terms?" "I understand your mother and I were estranged. We were on good terms. Mom played a prank on you, and you suffered a head injury before she could reveal it was just a joke. You initiated the divorce proceedings before discovering the truth. You need to halt this, Dad." "I don't know what to do. I can't tell if you're my daughter or not. I don't recognize who my wife is, if I even have a wife. I think I should wait until my memory returns, if it ever does." Do I have a lawyer? You have two, one for regular matters and a divorce lawyer. You authorized him to proceed with the divorce. Maybe talking to him might jog my memory. Can you contact him or her and ask them to visit me, of course? Anything to help you recover your memory, Dad. Can you let Mom visit you? It's tormenting her that she can't see you and apologize. I don't think I would feel safe around her. Maybe later. Mr. Strickland, I'm Chris Andrews, your family law attorney. Do you remember me? Is everything we discuss confidential? Absolutely. Good, I don't actually have amnesia. I'm trying to decide what to do about the divorce. What I remember is that I instructed you to ensure she could move on without me. That's correct. She was served and has obtained a lawyer. Do you wish to rescind the agreement and stop the divorce? No and no. Can you investigate her alleged date and report back to me what you find? I can hire someone on your behalf if you authorize me to do so. Do it. Harvey continued feigning amnesia and ignored his daughter's pleas to see their mother and terminate the divorce. He awaited the report from his lawyer. The report arrived a few days later. The private investigators found insufficient evidence to confirm whether or not she went on the date. The man she was with insists nothing happened, but he's married and might be reluctant to disclose the truth. It's up to you whether to believe her or not. I was afraid of that. Thanks for the information. I think it's time for me to regain my memory. I want you to proceed with the divorce. Carol was the only one who heard him recall her name from memory. Soon after, he confided that memories were returning, including the night of Betsy's supposed betrayal or jest, depending on what to believe. He agreed to meet with Betsy after hugs and tears. Betsy began, Harvey, it was a prank, a harsh prank on you to make you change. Doug and I just drove around the block, but by the time we returned, you had already left. How do I know that's true? I can ask Doug to come and tell you. He was the one who helped me stage the prank. So I have to take the word of the man you supposedly cheated on me with to convince me you didn't cheat. Sorry, but that explanation is unacceptable. I tried to call you, but you had left your phone at home. I waited all night for you. But you never returned. Was anyone there while you were waiting? Hug stayed for a couple of hours and then went home. I'm sure he'll vouch for me. I waited for your call until the next day when I called your office. That's when I discovered you took a drastic approach to my fabricated affair. You acted as if you couldn't wait to be rid of me. Why wouldn't I feel that way? You openly told me you were planning to be unfaithful with another man who was right there in our home. I was heartbroken, but because I loved you, I wanted to fulfill what you desired as soon as possible. Besides, I no longer wish to remain married to you after you shattered our marital promises. Why extend the misery? Let's just proceed with the divorce. I don't want a divorce. I never truly intended to cheat on you, and I never did. My aim was to inspire you to fight for our relationship and inject some vitality back into our marriage. Clearly, I chose the wrong method. Please forgive me, Harvey. Halt the divorce, and let's return to our life together. I love you. Even if what you said is true and I still have my doubts, you played a harsh and cruel joke on me. I'm not sure if I want to stay married to someone who resorts to such tactics. For now, I'm continuing with the divorce and will move into my own apartment once I'm discharged from the hospital. Harvey, that's such a waste. You have a home and a bed. I'll move into another room in the house temporarily if that's what it takes to win you back. Visiting hours ended, and I wanted to see my daughters. Betsy was escorted out of the room. The twins tried to advocate for their mother, but neither could clarify how long their mother had been with Doug that night, so it didn't matter to Harvey. When it was time for his discharge, he indeed moved into an apartment near his workplace. The divorce continued until Betsy's lawyer demanded mandatory counseling minus 12 sessions. Harvey did not resist. I love my husband dearly. We had a wonderful marriage and raised two incredible daughters. I believe the empty nest syndrome hit him harder than it hit me. I hope to bridge that gap by spending more time together, engaging in various activities, not just being in the same house. Harvey seemed to have distanced himself from our relationship. Our intimate life remained unchanged, as we had to time our intimacy for moments when the girls were unlikely to overhear. Their absence didn't alter anything for Harvey. I decided to stir things up to make him pay more attention to me. I enlisted a male colleague from work to help me with what I termed shock therapy. One evening, I pretended to go on a date with him. We drove around the block so I could return swiftly and reveal to Harvey it was all a joke, aimed to spur him into caring more about our marriage. However, when we got back 10 minutes later, he had already left, and I missed the opportunity to explain. I waited until the next day, called his office, and discovered he had initiated divorce proceedings. A few days later, I learned that Harvey had been robbed and was in a coma. When he awoke, he didn't believe my supposed date was a prank and thought I actually planned to meet other men. Since then, he has been pursuing a divorce. I regret my ill-judged action and pled for another chance. Harvey, what is your concise summary of what happened? She is correct in what she recounted, but she omitted some details. When her date arrived, not only did she tell me she was going out with him despite my protests, but she also mentioned she hoped to spend the night having sex with him. At that moment, I realized our marriage was over. I believed it was my fault our marriage had deteriorated, so I wanted to leave as quickly as possible. I left my home and her, so she could have the life she apparently wanted. And I could start anew. I quickly delegated authority to a lawyer because I couldn't bear to think about or speak to Betsy any longer. I would have granted her a generous divorce settlement and continued with my life. I never anticipated being robbed or ending up in a coma. When I regained consciousness, I couldn't remember who I was. Sometimes, I wish I had remained in the coma and never recalled that night. Betsy claims she didn't actually go on the date, but she hasn't provided any evidence. In my opinion, it's just as plausible that she did go on the date and was intimate with Doug. I suspect she only reconsidered her actions when she realized the potential social and financial repercussions. Now, I'm expected to believe it was all a joke and to resume living with a woman who was prepared to shatter my heart. Even if she's being honest, she's a spouse who has shown she's capable of causing me pain at her discretion. How can I live with that uncertainty every evening when I return home? Do I need to worry whether I'll be greeted by a loving wife or a deceitful one claiming to have gone on a date? It would be simpler if we divorced. She and Doug can build a life together, and I can try to move on. It seems we have much to discuss. Everything was at a standstill until Betsy brought Doug to the counseling session. Harvey, I want to apologize for my role in the prank. Betsy assured me it would all be fine, but I had my doubts when she got into my car. I swear we only drove around the block and returned. She was stunned to discover you had left. We found your phone in your room. I stayed with her, waiting for your return. Most of the time, she lamented our actions and expressed how much you meant to her. Eventually, I left. I'm sorry again. Do you believe me now? His words seemed sincere, but he might just be a skilled actor. Harvey, it seems there's nothing I can do to convince you it was just a joke. Despite what happened, I promise never to play such a prank on you again. Can't you just believe me? Let's see. You lied to me that night saying you were going to spend the night with Doug. Then, you claim nothing happened. Now you're saying you're not lying. Next, you want me to believe you won't do anything like this in the future. How am I supposed to distinguish where the lie ends and the truth begins? It all comes down to trust, Harvey, if we want to reconcile. You'll have to trust me. If you can't do that, I'll agree to the divorce. The counselor interjected, I have a suggestion. How about a postnuptial agreement that stipulates if Betsy ever does something like this again, you get all the property in the divorce? Would you be willing to sign that? Betsy, yes, Harvey. I think I could try that. Betsy approached and hugged him. Harvey gradually reintegrated into his marriage with Betsy. It took quite some time before they shared a bed again. Their interactions were initially very fragile. Over time, they developed a more robust relationship that included more outings, working on home projects together, visiting their daughters, and traveling. Their intimate life was more active than before the incident. Betsy began to feel secure at home again. One day, Harvey called Betsy and told her not to prepare dinner. It seemed they were going somewhere. He had to hang up quickly, so Betsy didn't learn the reason. She remembered the ongoing reorganization at his work due to a merger and assumed he had received positive news about his position. When Harvey entered the house, he immediately went upstairs, commenting, "I'm changing for the evening." Shortly after, the doorbell rang. Betsy opened the door to find a very attractive, professionally dressed woman who appeared about 10 years younger than them. "Yes, can I help you? I'm here for Harvey. We have plans tonight." Betsy recalled the incident she had tried to forget. She thought he was plotting revenge. An idea struck her, and she invited the woman inside. "You have a lovely home, Mrs. Strickland, thank you. Excuse me for a moment. I need to inform Harvey." "You're here," she called out. "Harvey, your guest is here." His reply was muffled. She assumed he said he'd be down soon. She returned to the woman. Just as Betsy was about to ask her a question, she heard Harvey descending the stairs and impulsively acted. Betsy wrapped her hands around the woman's throat, albeit gently, accusing her, "You husband-stealing witch." The woman, whom Betsy believed was part of a revenge scheme, began to struggle. Harvey intervened, yelling, "Betsy, stop." "What the hell is going on?" Betsy burst into laughter. "This time I caught you trying to prank me." "What prank?" "This is my new supervisor from the merger, Amanda Briggs." "Amanda, I'm terribly sorry. I don't know what came over her." Amanda frowned. "I prefer to think that my team members are normal, both at work and outside. You can say goodbye to your new position if this is what you consider normal. I'll be in the car, waiting for you to drive me back to the hotel." "Please, Amanda, give me a chance to explain before you decide anything." Amanda stormed out. Betsy collapsed onto the couch in tears. "Thanks a lot, Betsy. Just when I thought our marriage was stabilizing, you wreck our relationship and my job." He declared, "That's it. I'm leaving to try to salvage my job. I won't return to save our marriage." He headed for the car. Betsy ran upstairs, falling onto the bed, weeping. "What the hell is happening? What have I done?" About 15 minutes later, Harvey and Amanda returned. He called Betsy downstairs. They revealed to her that she had been pranked. Betsy clung to Harvey, apologizing profusely. Later, they went out for dinner and drinks. Amanda shared how frightened she was that she might get injured, but admitted Harvey's involvement in the prank made it bearable. Eventually, Betsy found humor in the situation and joined in the laughter. When Betsy and Harvey got home, she went to tidy the kitchen before bed while Harvey went upstairs. He immediately noticed his automatic pistol, usually securely locked away, was lying on Betsy's nightstand. Upon inspecting the gun, he found a bullet in the chamber and the safety off, causing his heart to sink. Thank you for being with us and listening until the end. If you found this interesting, please subscribe, give us a like, and leave your comments. We'll see you on my channel.